Recitation of one scene from Crime and Punishment, written by Dostoyevsky Fyodor. English version translated from the original Russian. Written by Katsutoshi Ishikawa. Start. Ah, you are wrong. I got the clothes before. It was the new clothes in fact that made me think of taking you in. Are you such a good dissembler? The school length asked carelessly. You wouldn't have supposed it. Wait a bit, I shall take you in too. Ha ha ha. No, I'll tell you the truth. All these questions about crime, environment, children recall to my mind an article of yours which interested me at the time. On crime, or something of the sort. I forget the title. I read it with pleasure 2 months ago in the periodical review. My article in the periodical review? Raskolnikov asked in astonishment. I certainly did write an article upon a book 6 months ago when I left the university, but I sent it to the weekly review. But it came out in the periodical, and the weekly review ceased to exist. So that's why it wasn't printed at the time. That's true, but when it ceased to exist, the weekly review was amalgamated with the periodical. And so your article appeared 2 months ago in the latter. Didn't you know? Raskolnikov had not known. Why, you might get some money out of them for the article. What a strange person you are. You lead such a solitary life that you know nothing of matters that concern you directly. It's a fact that should. Bravo, Roger. I knew nothing about it either, cried Rasmihin. I went today to the reading room and asked for the number. 2 months ago? What was the date? It doesn't matter though. I found it. Think of not telling us. How did you find out that the article was mine? It's only signed with an initial. I only learned it by chance the other day. To the editor. I know him. I was very much interested. I analyzed, if I remember, the psychology of a criminal before and after the crime. Yes, and you maintain that this perpetration of a crime is always accompanied by illness. Very, very original. But it was not the part of your article that interested me so much, but an idea at the end of the article, which I regret to say you merely suggested without working it out clearly. There is, if you recollect, a suggestion that there are certain persons who can, that is not precisely able to, but have a perfect right to commit breaches of morality and crimes, and that the law is not for them. Raskolnikov smiled at the exaggerated and intentional distortion with the idea. What? What do you mean? A right to crime? But not because of the influence of environment? That's me, he inquired with some alarm even. No, not exactly because of it, answered Porphyry. In his article, all men are divided into ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary men have to live in submission, have no right to transgress the law, because don't you see they are ordinary. But extraordinary men have a right to commit any crime and transgress the law in any way. This is because they are extraordinary. That was your idea, if I am not mistaken? What do you mean? That can't be right. That's me he mad in bewilderment. Raskolnikov smiled again. He saw the point at once and knew where they wanted to drive him. he decided to take up the challenge. That wasn't quite my contention, he began simply in modestly. It does admit that you have stated it almost correctly. Perhaps if you like, perfectly so. It almost gave him pleasure to admit this. The only difference is that I don't contend that extraordinary people are always bound to commit breaches of morals, as you call it. In fact, I doubt whether such an argument could be published. I simply hinted that an extraordinary man has a right. That is not an official right, but an inner right to decide in his own conscience, to overstep certain obstacles, and only in case it is essential for the practical fulfillment of his idea, sometimes perhaps of benefit to the poor of humanity. You say that my article isn't definite. I'm ready to make it as clear as I can. Perhaps I am right in thinking you want me to. Well, I maintain that if the discoveries of Kepler and Newton could not have been made known except by sacrificing the lives of one, a dozen, hundred, or more men, Newton would have had a right indeed have been in duty bound to eliminate the dozen or the hundred men for the sake of making his discoveries known to the whole of humanity. But it does not follow from that Newton had a right to murder people right and left and steal every day in the market. Then I remember I maintain in my article that all, well, legislators and leaders of men such as Ricardo, Solon, Mahomet, Napoleon, and so on, were all without exception criminals. From the very fact that making a new law, they transgressed the ancient one handed down from their ancestors and held sacred by the people, and they did not stop short at bloodshed either. If the bloodshed of an innocent person fighting bravely in defense of ancient law were of use to their cause, it's remarkable, in fact, that the majority, indeed, of these benefactors and leaders of humanity were guilty of terrible carnage. In short, I maintain that all great men or even men are little out of the common, that is to say, capable of giving some new words, must from their very nature be criminals. More or less, of course. Otherwise, it's hard for them to get out of the common rut, and to remain in the common rut is what they can't submit to from their very nature again, and to my mind they ought not, indeed, to submit to it. You see that there is nothing particularly new in all that. The same thing has been printed and read 1,000 times before. As for my division of people into ordinary and extraordinary, I acknowledge that it's somewhat arbitrary. But I don't insist upon exact numbers. I only believe in my leading idea that men are in general divided by a law of nature into two categories, inferior or ordinary. That is, so to say, material that serves only to reproduce its kind, and men who have the gift or the talent to utter a new word. There are, of course, innumerable subdivisions, but the distinguishing features of both categories are very well marked. The first category, generally speaking, are men conservative in temperament and law-abiding. They live under control and love to be controlled. To my thinking, it is their duty to be controlled because that's their vocation, and there's nothing humiliating in it for them. The second category all transgress the law. They are destroyed or exposed to destruction according to their capacities. The crimes of these men are, of course, relative and varied. For the most part, they seek in very varied ways the destruction of the present for the sake of the better. But if such a one is forced for the sake of his idea to step over a corpse or wade through blood, he can, I maintain, find within himself, in his conscience, a sanction for wading through blood that depends on the idea and its dimensions. Note that it's only in that sense I speak of the right crime in my article. You remember why because it began with a legal question. There's no need for such anxiety, however. The masses will scarcely ever admit this right. They punish them or hang them more or less, and in doing so fulfill quite justly their conservative vocation. But the same masses set these criminals on a pedestal in the next generation and worship them more or less. The first category is always the man of the present, the second, the man of the future. The first preserves the world and people, the second moves the world and leads it to its goal. Each class had an equal right to exist. In fact, all have equal rights with me and vivre la guerre éternelle till the new Jerusalem, of course. Do you believe in New Jerusalem, do you? I do, Raskolnikov answered firmly, as he said these words, and during the war preceding tirade, he kept his eyes on one spot on the carpet. And and do you believe in God? Excuse my curiosity. I do, repeated Raskolnikov, raising his eyes to Porfiry. And do you believe in Lazarus rising from the dead? I I do. Why do you ask all this? You believe it literally? Literally. You don't say so. I asked from curiosity. Ex- Excuse me, but let us go back to the question. They are not always executed. Some on the contrary. Some on the contrary. Triumph in their lifetime? Oh, yes, some attain their end in this life and then they begin executing other people? If it's necessary, indeed, for the most part they do. Your remark is very witty. Thank you. But tell me this, how do you distinguish those extraordinary people from the ordinary ones? Are they signs of their birth? I feel there ought to be more exactitude, more external definition. Excuse the natural anxiety of a practical law-abiding citizen. But couldn't they adapt a special uniform? For instance, couldn't they wear something, be branded in some way? For if confusion arises and a member of one category imagines that he belongs to the other, begins to eliminate obstacles, as you so happily expressed it, then that very often happens. That remark is weirder than the other. Thank you. No reason to, but take note that the mistake can only arise in the first category, that is, among the ordinary people as I perhaps unfortunately call them, in spite of their predisposition to obedience, very many of them, through a playfulness of nature, sometimes vouchsafed even to the cow, like to imagine themselves advanced people destroyers, and to push themselves into the new movement, and this quite sincerely. Meanwhile, the really new people are very often unobserved by them or even despised as reactionaries of groveling tendencies. But I don't think there's any conceivable danger here, and you really need not be uneasy for they never go very far. Of course, they might have a thrashing sometimes for letting their fancy run away with them to teach them their place, but no more. In fact, even this isn't necessary as they castigate themselves for they are very conscientious. Some perform the service for one another and others chastise themselves with their own hands. They will impose various public acts of penitence upon themselves with a beautiful and edifying effect. In fact, you nothing to be uneasy about. It's a law of nature. Well, you have certainly set my mind more at rest on that score, but there's another thing worries me. Tell me please, are there many people who have the right to kill others, these extraordinary people? I'm ready to bow down to them, of course, but you must admit it's alarming if there are great many of them, eh? Oh, you needn't worry about that either. Raskolnikov went on in the same tone. People with new ideas, people with the faintest capacity for saying something new, are extremely new in number. Extraordinarily so, in fact. One thing only is clear, that the appearance of all these grades and subdivisions of men must follow with unfailing regularity some law of nature. That law, of course, is unknown at present, but I am convinced that it exists, and one day may become known. The vast mass of mankind is mere material, and only exists in order by some great effort, by some mysterious process, by means of some crossing of races and silks, to bring into the world at last perhaps one man as of a thousand with a spark of independence. 1 in 10,000 perhaps, I speak roughly, approximately, is born with some independence, and with still greater independence 1 in 100,000. The man of genius is one of millions, and the great genius is the crown of humanity, a pure on earth perhaps one in many thousand millions. In fact, I have not peeped into the retorts in which all this takes place. But there certainly is and must be a definite rule. It cannot be a matter of chance. Why are you both joking? That's me, he cried at last. There you sit, making fun of one another. Are you serious, Roger? Raskolnikov raised his pale and almost mournful face and made no reply, and the unconcealed, persistent, nervous, and discourteous sarcasm of Porphy seemed strange to him beside that quiet and mournful face. Well, brother, if you are really serious, you are right, of course, in saying that it's not new, that it's like what we've read and heard 1,000 times already. But what is really original in all this, and is exclusively your own, to my honor, is that you sanction bloodshed in the name of conscience and, excuse my saying so, with such fanatics that, I take it, is a point of your article, but the sanction of bloodshed by conscience is, to, to my mind, more terrible than the offshore legal sanction of bloodshed. You're quite right. It is more terrible. Porphyry agreed. Yes, you must have exaggerated, and there's some mistake. I should read it. You can't think that. I shall read it. All that is not in the article, there's only a hint of it, said Raskolnikov. Yes, yes, Porphyry couldn't sit still. Your attitude to crime is pretty clear to me now, but excuse me for my impertinence. I'm really ashamed to be worrying you like this. You see, you've removed my anxiety as to the two grades getting mixed, but there are various practical possibilities that make me uneasy. But if some man or youth imagines that he is Lycurgus or Mahomet, a future one of course, and suppose he begins to remove all obstacles. He has some great enterprise before him and needs money for it, and try to get it, do you see? Sametov gave a sudden guffaw in his corner. Raskolnikov did not even raise his eyes to him. I must admit, he went on calmly, that such cases certainly must arise. The vain and foolish are particularly apt to fall into that snare. Young people especially. Yes, you see. Well then, what then? Raskolnikov smiled in pride. That's not my fault. So it is, and so it always will be. He said just now he nodded at us. That's me. That I sanction bloodshed. Society is too well protected by prison, banishment, criminal investigators, penal servitude. There's no need to be uneasy. You have but to catch the thief. And what if we do catch him? Then he gets what he deserves. You certainly logical, but what of his conscience? Why do you care about that? Simply from humanity. If he has a conscience, he will suffer for his mistake. There will be his punishment as well as the prison. But the real geniuses asked that me frowning, if we have the right to murder, aren't they to suffer at all even for the blood they've shed? What of all? It's not a matter of permission or prohibition. He will suffer if he is sorry for his victim. Pain and suffering are always inevitable for a large intelligence and a deep heart. The really great men must, I think, have great sadness on us, he added dreamily. Not in the tone of the conversation. He raised his eyes and looked earnestly at them all, smiled, and took his cap. He was still quiet by comparison with his manner at his entrance, and he felt this. Everyone got up. Well, you may abuse me, be angry with me if you like. Porfiry Petrovich began again. But I can't resist. Allow me one little question. I know I'm troubling you. There's just one little notion I want to express, simply that I may not forget it. Very good. Tell me your little notion. Raskolnikov stood waiting, pale and grave, before him. But you see, I really don't know how to express it properly. It's a playful psychological idea. When you were writing your article, surely you couldn't have helped. Heh, heh, fancying yourself just a little an extraordinary man, uttering a new word. In a sense, that's so, isn't it? Quite possibly, Raskolnikov answered contemptuously. Does it mean he made a movement? And if so, could you bring yourself in case of worldly difficulties and hardship, or for some service to humanity to overstep obstacles? For instance, to rob and murder? And again he winked with his left eye and laughed noiselessly, just as before. If I did, I certainly should not tell you, Raskolnikov answered with defiant and haughty contempt. No, I was only interested on account of your article from a literary point of view. Phew! How obviously insolent that is, Raskolnikov saw with repulsion. Allow me to observe, he answered dryly, that I don't consider myself a Mahomet or a Napoleon, nor any personage of that kind, and not being one of them, I cannot tell you how I should act. Or count that we will all think ourselves Napoleons now in Russia, Porfiry Petrovich said with alarming familiarity. Something peculiar betrayed itself in the very intonation of his voice. Perhaps it was one of these future Napoleons for uh, Al- Aliona Ivanova last week. The meteor blurted out from the corner. Raskolnikov did not speak, but looked firmly and intently at Porfiry. Razumixin was scowling gloomily. He seemed before this to be noticing something. He looked angrily around. There was a minute of gloomy silence. Raskolnikov turned to go. "Are you going already?" Porfiry said amiably, holding out his hand with excessive politeness. "Very, very glad we came acquaintance. As for your request, have no uneasiness, right just as I told you, or better still, come to me there yourself in a day or two. Tomorrow, indeed, I shall be there at 11 o'clock, for certain. We'll arrange it all. We'll have a talk. As one of the last to be there, you might perhaps be able to tell us something," added with the most good-natured expression. "You want to cross-examine me officially in due form?" Raskolnikov asked sharply. "Oh, why, that's not necessary for the present. You misunderstand me. I lose no opportunity, you see, and I've been talked with all who had pledges. I obtained evidence from some of them, and you are the last. Yes, by the way," he cried, seemingly suddenly delighted. "I just remember. What was I thinking of?" He turned to Rasmussen. "You were talking my ears off about that Nikolay. Of course, I know very well," he turned to Raskolnikov, "that the fellow is innocent. What does he want to do? We had to trouble Dmitri, too. This is the point. This is all. When you went up the stairs, it was past 7, wasn't it?" "Yes," answered Raskolnikov, with an unpleasant sensation the very moment he spoke that he need not have said it. "Then when you went upstairs between 7 and 8, didn't you see in a flat that stood open on the second story, do you remember? To, to workmen, or at least one of them? They were painting there, didn't you notice them? It's very, very important for them." "Painters? No, I didn't see them," Raskolnikov answered slowly, as though ransacking his memory, while at the same instant he was racking every nerve, almost swaying with anxiety to conjecture as quickly as possible where the trap lay and not to overlook anything. "No, I don't see them, and I don't think I noticed the flat like that open, but on the fourth story." He had mastered the trap now and was triumphant. Tri- triumphant. "I remember now that someone was moving out of the flat opposite Aloya Ivanova's. I remember it clearly. Some porters were carrying out a sofa and they squeezed me against the wall. But painters, no. I don't remember that there were any painters, and I don't think that there was a flat open anywhere. No, there wasn't. "What do you mean?" He shouted suddenly, as though he had reflected and realized why it was on the day of the murder the painters were at work, and he was there 3 days before. What are you asking? Pooh! I've murdered it. Porphyry slapped himself on the forehead. "Deuce take it! This business is turning my brain," he addressed Raskolnikov somewhat apologetically. "It would be such a great thing for us to find out whether anyone had seen them between 7 and 8 at the flat. So I fancied you could perhaps have told us something. I could mother it. Then you should be more careful." He observed grimly. The last words were uttered in the passage. Porfiry Petrovitch saw them to the door with excessive politeness. They went out into the street gloomy and solemn, and for themselves they did not say a word. Raskolnikov drew a deep breath and